Waiting for our last participants, our last panelists, and we'll be getting started very shortly. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining today. My name is Lucas Casey. I'm the Regional Industry Manager for the International Finance Corporation's Manufacturing, Agribusiness, and Services Group, which makes investments in those sectors, including chemicals, which is the topic of today. I'm based in Istanbul, and I cover the Uzbekistan, among other countries in Central Asia and in Turkey. We've got a great panel today, and we've had a few last-minute changes, but nevertheless, I think we've got some great discussions going on to look forward to. So just to give you a little by way of structure, what we'll do is first I'll sort of set the stage. I will ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. And then I will ask a series of questions for them. Some will present some of their presentations about their work. Some will just provide oral answers. And then we'll try to make it as interactive as possible and leave some time at the end for questions. But I'd like to first just start by sort of setting the stage that chemicals manufacturing is really the backbone of modern economic activity, as I think a lot of people know. It provides, essential products for food security, energy security, healthcare, and for all sectors and all value chains. It's in just about everything that we use on a day-to-day basis. It also plays a key role in renewable energy generation and beneficial waste handling and sustainability. Now, Uzbekistan has a lot of natural resources, abundant natural resources, which has traditionally been exported as raw materials. And brought substantial earnings to the country. However, and not surprisingly, the government is eager to see more value-added chemicals production in the country. The National Program for the Development of the Chemical Industries over 2019 to 2030 calls for $12.1 billion in direct in investment, including about almost $2 billion in foreign direct investment. In 31 projects that they're looking at, and actually to support this, IFC and the government of Uzbekistan signed an agreement in 2021 to support the modernization of the Uzbekistan chemical industry. Despite these ambitions, investment has been limited. I think everybody here knows that. So it raises some questions which we're going to dive into today. But before I get started with the questions, I'd like to start with Dr. Matthijs to first introduce himself from Linde, and we'll go down with the panelists.
Yeah, my name is Matthias Kranz. I'm representing Linde. Linde is in the chemical space. We're an industrial gases and engineering company with a 145 years proud history. Essentially, we are producing industrial gases like oxygen and nitrogen and argon, but also hydrogen, which are essential for the chemical production processes. And we're serving all kinds of sectors with our products, from food and beverage, but also covering mining and metals, electronics. Most important in this context here, chemicals and energy sector, but also the hospital and the healthcare sector is an important end customer for us.
Добрый день, меня зовут Курбанов Акбар, я являюсь заместителем председателя правления компании Узкимиосанат. Как вы знаете, Узкимиосанат является государственной компанией, которая на сегодняшний день основным целью является производство минеральных удобрений для сельскохозяйственного сектора, а также диверсификация своей продукции, и мы уже начинаем производство полимерных продукций. В целом, на сегодняшний день в нашей компании работает более 30 тысяч человек, и имеем все возможности по расширению своего портфолио. Спасибо большое.
Yeah, good afternoon and Dobry Jan. I am Rahul Singh. Actually, I am just, Mr. Prakash Kejriwal is our group director, Indorama Corporation Singapore. So he has some urgent meeting. So he had not joined, so I thought I can be here. I am Rahul Singh. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Indorama Corporation in Eurasia region. So I am responsible for chemicals, fertilizers business of Indorama in the Eurasia. And in Uzbekistan, we have two fertilizer company. One is joint stock company Fargana Azot, and then second company joint stock company Indorama Kokon Fertilizers. So here we produce around 1.5 million tons chemicals, fertilizers. We have around 7,000 employees in Uzbekistan in these two companies. And we produce most of the chemicals and fertilizers like urea, ammonium nitrate, sodium chlorate, sodium nitrate, and sodium bicarbonate, superphosphate, NPK, sulfuric acid, sulfate of potash, ammonium chloride. So you can give the name. We produce those chemicals in Uzbekistan, and we are here in this country since last 15 years, and we have invested more than $500 million in this country. Thank you.
I'm Sergei Radchenko from Nexan TCA, Energy and Chemicals Advisory. We're based in London. Sergei Radchenko, Nexan TCA, Energy and Chemicals Advisory. We're based in London. We're doing a lot of business with Uzbekistan, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Добрый день, меня зовут Фарух Самадов, я являюсь председателем правления АО «Новый Азот». «Новый Азот» является самым крупным химическим предприятием Республики Узбекистан, где выпускается более 90 видов продукции. Основные – это минеральные удобрения, органические продукции и химические реагенты для горной, нефтяных отраслей. На нашем предприятии работает более 10 тысяч сотрудников. Опыт компании насчитывает уже более 60 лет. Спасибо.
And thank you, gentlemen. So I think I'll start with Mr. Samodov and Mr. Kurbanov, maybe together, but I'll asking it's really about the role of Novy Azot and actually of UKS. Now, on the one hand, UKS is a government-owned entity, and that's eager to see more investment in the sector for the good of the country. On the other hand, UKS is also operational in the market, and it competes with private sector companies. So how does UKS balance those two positions that may seem contradictory? And are there any proposed changes you can speak about to sort of level the playing field, if there is such a concern?
На самом деле, на самом деле это очень правильный вопрос, то, что вы обратили внимание, что мы и владеем на сегодняшний день заводами, помогаем и частному сектору, и ввиду того, что мы являемся государственной компанией, мы также ведем свою деятельность по, так скажем, по политике химической промышленности внутри нашей компании. На сегодняшний день у нас есть ряд проектов, которые мы реализуем, которые мы, так скажем, координируем и помогаем частному сектору. Например, очень хороший пример, вот наши коллеги здесь сидят с компанией Indorama. Мы с 2019 года с ними очень плотно сотрудничаем, с 2018 года очень плотно сотрудничаем. Как Рахул, он уже выразился, они уже построили один завод в Коканде. Это по производству суперфосфата и минеральных удобрений NPK. Недавно они приватизировали наш завод Фергана Азот, который выпускает более 1 миллиона тонн промышленной продукции, разных минеральных удобрений и органической химии. Но мы на сегодняшний день данную роль видим с частным бизнесом, чтобы им помогать. У нас нету никаких ограничений для ведения, чтобы для себя же создавать конкурентов. Я могу вам дать очень много примеров с мелким частным бизнесом, которые мы помогаем даже сегодня. который производит моющие средства, синтетические моющие средства. Также они выпускают, есть компании, которые выпускают HPMC, это карбоксилметилцеллулоза или другие КМЦ, мы им только помогаем. Мы можем помочь по технологии, можем помочь со своими техническими специалистами, а также иногда есть при необходимости мы можем быть мостом между частным бизнесом и правительственными организациями для получения тех или иных, так скажем, одобрений или разрешений для ведения своей деятельности. Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to just to ask Mr. Farouk Samodov if you have anything else to add from the perspective of Navoy Azot.
Да, спасибо. Как уже выше было отмечено, химическая промышленность является драйвером развития экономики страны. И развитие химической отрасли дает развитие другим отраслям, энергетики, промышленность и сельское хозяйство. Все отрасли зависят от химии. Если до 2017 года будем смотреть, то тогда в основном делали упор на развитие самого Ускимиосановата. То есть мы делали проекты, только привлекая кредитные средства и свои денежные средства развивали сами. То есть инвесторы, если хотели, они делали отдельно. Но после 2017 года у нас вектор чуть-чуть поменялся. Мы начали свои активы уже, новые инвестиционные проекты реализовывать с инвесторами вместе совместно. Если хотят, в доле мы участвуем. Некоторых новых проектов наша доля ограничивается только 49%, некоторых даже 20%, некоторые хотят 100%, чтобы их доля была. Мы в любом контексте готовы с ними вместе сотрудничать и делаем такие проекты. Кроме этого, Ускимиосановат начала создавать по инициативе руководителя нашей страны новые химические кластеры, где Химиосановат только является организатором, создает условия, чтобы инвесторы, если хотят совместно с нами, либо они сами 100% могут реализовывать свои проекты. В этом направлении мы помогаем и ресурсами, и сырьевыми, и людскими ресурсами, и другими, какими возможностями у нас имеется.
Пожалуйста, пожалуйста.
Если можно, я хотел также еще добавить то, что Фарух Хамзаевич сказал. Мы на сегодняшний день, как я и выразился, мы являемся мостом между частным бизнесом и государственными организациями. Да, по то, что Фарух Хамзаевич сказал, по инициативе президента мы уже создали несколько технопарков, в которых мы полностью создаем всю необходимую инфраструктуру. И на конкурсной основе компании, те местные или иностранные компании могут прийти и арендовать данные помещения, производственные площади, и могут начать свою деятельность. За очень короткий период, за 2 года, мы уже 75 тысяч квадратов уже подготовили, и уже полностью все эти площади мы уже отдали иностранным партнерам для начала своих деятельностей. И за очень короткий период около, если не ошибаюсь, 75 миллионов долларов они уже вложили на оборудование, на разные свои R&D-центры этих промышленных парках. Мы в этих промышленных парках сам по себе есть очень много льготы в соответствии с законодательством, которые можно будет предоставить. И цены на аренды являются намного ниже, нежели чем в рыночной. Но при этом тот или иной предприниматель, когда приходит в этот технопарк, у нас главная задача по их техническому заданию построить здание сооружения. Компания приходит, он говорит, мне нужно помещение, которое на высоту 12 метров. 12 метров в высоту, ширину оно должно быть, я не знаю, 40 метров. Мы под это их техническое задание полностью подготавливаем проект в помещении и им отдаем в аренду. Это мы делаем для того, чтобы стимулировать частный бизнес, иностранные компании, чтобы здесь делали переработку тех базовых продукций, которые мы на сегодняшний день выпускаем. Вот Фарух Хамзаевич, он тоже сказал о том, что только Новый Азот выпускает 90 разных наименований продукции. Но в целом в нашей компании мы производим более 180-190 разновидностей продукции, которые являются просто базовым продуктом, из-за чего можно дальнейшее его переработать и сделать продукцию более высокой добавленной стоимостью. Одним примером я могу сказать, вот мы то, что сделали в Новый Азот с частным бизнесом, опять-таки, проект HPMC. Мы для данного завода мы даем только как сырье метанол. Они с метанола дальше делают метилцеллулозу. А с целлулозы они его дальнейшую переработку делают гидропропилметилцеллулозу. Она уже все ингредиенты, которые данный завод использует, оно все есть на территории Республики Узбекистан, это может быть в нашей отрасли или в других отраслях. Тем самым я хочу сказать, что роль Узкимюсона на сегодняшний день не только хозяйственная деятельность наших заводов, но а также помогать и оказывать всегда содействие частному бизнесу.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you. And it serves as a good segue to Matthias at Linde, who just celebrated a signing yesterday from the perspective of a private investor in cooperation with Novy Azot. But to you, Matthias, so the government of Uzbekistan is on a market liberalization plan. You've heard about some of the initiatives by the state-owned enterprises. How do you see this progressing? What more needs to be done? And do you see there's a proper balance of incentives that may be needed to attract investments, such as Linde, which has just gone through? So congratulations again.
Okay, so Lucas, first of all, thanks. I think it's a very relevant and good question. And as you mentioned, we are very proud to have made our first investment into Uzbekistan, which was announced yesterday. It's an investment under 100 million into an air separation unit, which will supply Novy Azot. And actually, it's a partnership together with Novy Azot, so we are in a joint venture situation. And we are very grateful for having this partner, which helped us access the market and develop this project to the point where we are now. Look, when we went through the process of making the investment decision, a couple of questions obviously come up and a couple of considerations need to be made. And when we looked at this project opportunity and Uzbekistan as a market opportunity overall, obviously there's the significant growth which is observable wherever you look. So that's a very strong positive for Uzbekistan, in combination with a very strong market transformation which has been going on since a couple of years and which seems to be a very good fruits and seems to reflect in the dynamics of the market as well. We also look very favorable on the population. It's a sizable population, it's a young population, education is good and increasingly getting better. That's something we need for our business and we would like to also tap into, and we are also, I think we will give something back because we are typically educating people and make them even better engineers. Now, what we also found is very positive, and coming to your question, is the legal and regulatory framework, which has made a lot of progress in the last couple of years, and that also goes together with the market liberalization. So these are all factors which you need to consider when you make an investment, and I think it fits nicely into the overall country development strategy. The president lays out a very clear path how he wants to develop the country, and it's great to see how the execution follows up to the promises. And when we compare our agenda and where we have strengths in our technology portfolio and our expertise, and we match that with the agenda of Uzbekistan, we see a lot of parallels and a lot of spaces where we can contribute. Mostly that's in the area of chemicals. That's why we are starting in this space. but we also bring a lot of expertise in the mining sector, which is very relevant here in Uzbekistan. And then there's also the clean energy agenda, right? So clean energy is a big topic. We have expertise in producing ammonia and helping produce ammonia, but also hydrogen and methanol. So these are all areas where I think it links nicely together between the capabilities we bring and the market environment we find and what here is available in the local market. And yes, that is also connected with increasing market liberalization. What I would also like to mention is we are very positive about the ambitions of the government and the country to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I think there's a very clear clean energy agenda. So whatever is needed in order to capture CO2 and then sequester it. There are a lot of technologies which are available, and we also look at this as an opportunity for us to further help the country become more environmentally friendly, because I'm sure with these growth rates and the significant challenges also in the energy market, carbon sequestration will be a big topic also in the future. Now, you also asked what needs to improve, right? So I think on the regulatory and framework side, obviously a lot of progress has been made, but I would say the journey is probably not completely finished. What we typically see as questions is the supply chain and logistics question for end products. It doesn't affect us so much, but it really affects the products which are eventually generated with our products. And to get that onto a more cost-competitive level would significantly, I think, help the growth trajectory of the country. From our perspective, there's also a topic on the currency translation, which I think also makes a lot of progress recently, but more needs to be done there. And as you said, I think a further progress on the market liberalization we also see as beneficial. The market liberalization is a topic where we see much potential going forward, also because if you allow, in my point of view, some of the industrial structures are still coming from a bit of history, and you typically find a lot of integrated value chains. What we see in many other parts of the world is that as you move further, you kind of start disintegrating the value chains and leave certain parts of the value chain to those people who are best in operating a specific, specialized, focused area. And we're pretty good at running air separation units and HYCO plants and hydrogen plants. So that's a trend we would expect also in this country to take off over the next couple of years, that the value chains are further broken down, that business models are shifted a bit around. And that's a strong contribution also for experts like us. Because the first thing you do is basically if you run a plant with, let's say, 145 years of history and experience, you typically run it a bit more energy efficient. And you typically also manage to get reliability up so the output improves. So it also helps on the greenhouse gas agenda, but also on the productivity side and on the growth side. So these are areas where we see positive development, but also more than happy to jointly develop the path forward. And yeah, it's exciting times, and I think it's good to be in the country and looking forward to more.
Thank you so much. No, it's really inspiring, and it's a great sort of window of insight that you've provided us. Staying on the topic of existing investors, Rahul, thank you for joining us. Now, for investors like Indorama, existing investors in Uzbekistan, which is a market that is relatively small with relatively high logistics costs, I mean, how can a private company like Indorama balance the economies of scale that most chemicals companies look for with having to play in what seems to be a smaller market? And correct me if I've made any incorrect assumptions about any of these things.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Very valid questions. And I'm thankful to Mr. Krantz. He had already shared most of the opportunity which are available in chemicals and fertilizer sector in Uzbekistan. And just allow us to share about Indorama growth strategy, how we trusted the country and how we have grown. You are rightly, we grown from a small scale, and now we are one of the largest fertilizer and chemical company in this region. So We started with very small step with support from Uchkim Sanath by investing in Indorama Coke and Superphosphate. It was earlier Coke and Superphosphate. It was built in 1939 during World War I, and during World War II, company was producing some dynamite. And then after World War II, they started producing the superphosphate in 1950. And so in 2019, when we have taken over, we transformed the whole factory. Initially, we invested $30 million. Now our investment is around $100 million in that factory. And we had very good support from Uchkim Sanath, and also lenders like EBRD. Mr. Sebastian is here. So EBRD has helped us to get the funding from Europe, IFC also. And then it has given us big responsibility how to transform the chemical sectors in Uzbekistan by giving some example. Yes, whatever Indorama is doing, we are doing better than best any European plant. So say Indorama Coke and fertilizer, if you see, so this is one of the best fertilizer company in Europe. Even globally, it is one of the best fertilizer company. How it is the best? If you consider the product quality, it is exporting more than 20 countries and mostly Europe. If you see the carbon footprint, so carbon footprint is better than Europe in terms of natural gas consumption, electricity consumptions. Zero liquid discharge company, we are not discharging anything outside of the factory. And then we are already in the growth phase of that project and that site. And when we have taken over Fargana Azyot, so we are trying to see how we can do Fargana Azyot better than any company in Europe, you know. So I'm giving one example. Like in Uzbekistan, most of the ammonia plant who produce the ammonia, their carbon footprint is like 2 to 2.1 tons CO2 per ton of ammonia. This is the carbon footprint in Uzbekistan. Average of even Fargana Azyot have also around 2.1 ton CO2 emission per ton of ammonia. So this is something not acceptable. And if I compare this with Europe, so Europe average top 10% is 1.575 ton per ton of ammonia. So that means Uzbekistan chemicals fertilizer company, they are consuming 20% more electricity and more natural gas compared to European plant. And this is the not wastage of natural resources of Uzbekistan, and this is also creating adverse impact to the environment. So as a Indorama, as a responsible company, our first step, how to reduce the carbon footprint, what Mr. Kranz is saying, very valid point. So immediately our step, how to reduce this 20% energy consumption so that in carbon footprint, our factories should be as per Europe. That is our first priority. And second, biggest confidence in this country that, we have very hard-working engineers. Most of the engineers very well trained. They did their graduations outside of Uzbekistan in chemical industries. And we are very lucky enough that in Tashkent, we have a special chemical institute. And Indorama is one of the sponsored. We are in the board and we are helping them. So where our chemical engineers get the trainings, graduations, and then we offer them job in our chemical factory. So very good skill engineer available in Uzbekistan. And we are operating in most of the country. I'm not criticizing other country. Then when I consider, because being in Indorama, we are operating in more than 47 countries. We have more than 167 factories in the global. And I'm also operating factory in Georgia also, Rustavi Azyot, it is our company. So when I compare manpower's sincerity, their dedication to the work, hard work, ownership, responsibility, I say with proud that Uzbekistan manpower very sincere. They respect each other and they do good jobs. That is one of the biggest strengths we have. And other than this, third point that in Uzbekistan, most of the chemical industries are coming under the umbrella of Uchkim Sanath. Indorama is one of the private largest investor, but Uchkim Sanath is our like parent company. It is the main holding, and each of the private companies are the member of the Uzbekistan. So whatever problem we have, whether it is related to the learning with each other about the good practices, say health, safety, environment, whether related to the training, exchange programs, or we have some problem with the custom issue, some sales problem. So Uzbekistan always there to guide and mentor, not only Indorama, most of the chemical fertilizer company. So this is good thing. And then what we are planning to do Indorama in Uzbekistan, what we are planning to do, we want to focus basically 3 things in Uzbekistan. As I told, first our priority to reduce the carbon emission, that is very important. Second, our priority is how to bring the health, safety, environment in our factory at par with the European standard. And in that process, EBRD, their European bank, they keep helping us. And recent example, they have given us a grant to Indorama to implement the gender equality programs in our coconut superphosphate. So when we have taken over the company, so gender ratio between men and women were 10% only women employee. And most of the women employee were working like, sweeper, cleaner. And then when we have taken over with support of EBRD, today we have 30% employee, women employee in Uzbekistan, in our factory, 30%. And these women employee leading the key departments like chief of the economics department, chief of laboratory, chief of security, health. So key position held by the women employee. This is what we are working in Fargana Ajot also. And then third point, we want to focus how to create the high value added product from our bulk chemicals fertilizer. Like we are producing urea, ammonium nitrate. So these are the bulk chemicals, bulk fertilizers. And disadvantage is that when we are exporting from here to Europe, logistic cost is very high, so we are not competitive. So we are now working in project program how to use the urea to create the high value product. What Mr. Akbar also said in the investment program, how to use the urea to produce the urea formaldehyde, high value product. How to use the ammonium nitrate to produce the potassium nitrate, high value product. How to produce other high value product. So this is the direction where Indorama is working. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Rahul. Okay, and now we'll go to our final speaker, and that's Sergey from Nexant. And this is a good segue, again, because it really talks about the unique role that Uzbekistan can play, and I think Sergey is going to share some slides with us as well. But Sergey, as a leading global advisor to the chemicals industries, how would you say Uzbekistan should define its unique role? And you've heard some of the challenges from, in terms of what are some of the challenges. So how should it differentiate itself from neighbors like Kazakhstan and becoming a stronger regional player? Or maybe there are other angles that we're not thinking of. Over to you, Sergey.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Lucas. So to succeed in global markets, you need 3 things, price, quality, and service. Obviously, Uzbekistan has low cost base. We all know that price of gas is very competitive here. You have skilled, abundant labor force, young, energetic, educated people willing to go into chemical industry. There's certainly support from the government for the chemical industry. There's plenty of land to build chemical complexes on. The main challenge is logistics. Uzbekistan is a landlocked country. Nearest port is 1,000 miles away. And Uzbekistan can become a global player if they sort this out. Currently, most of the trade is conducted by rail and truck to neighboring countries in Central Asia, CIS, and certain provinces in China that are closer. But if you arrange access to seaports, then you can access global markets and potentially get premium for your products. And speaking of products, the way forward is to acquire best Western technologies to make value-added products. Now I think the organizers want me to make a quick presentation. I will try to do it in 5 minutes as requested, although it's 30 pages long. So I'll go very quickly through the first part.
You can take 6.
We are trading
Or even
already.
7 if you need to, Sergey.
So my background is trading. So I've traded petrochemicals for nearly 20 years. So I'll go quickly through the first part, which is mostly about current state of the industry, and I'll slow down a bit on the second part, which is devoted to the new trends in the industry. So nice title, we can skip it. This is about us, so we are active in all commodities and all products. To divide them into groups: oil, gas, renewables, specialties, fertilizers, and polymers. And in Uzbekistan, we are working with probably all of them. So we're offering full consulting service, we're making feasibility studies, we're involved in project finance, M&A advice, commercial analysis. We help with technology evaluation, strategic planning, and sometimes they ask us to perform the function of an independent expert. Just on M&A, we have conducted over 100 transactions with a value of over 200 billion. What are chemicals? Chemicals are a very important part of our lives. We can see them every day. They're present in packaging, in antifreeze, in tires, in paints and coatings, in polyester, nylon, furniture, you name it. This is an interesting slide. So we are linked to oil and gas and coal, but only 10% of those resources are used to produce petrochemicals. And that's remarkable because most of the oil and gas produced is used for other purposes. Where do gas and the oil come from? I guess it's clear to all of us here. Economics to make petrochemicals from naphtha. Very simple, linked to oil. Oil goes up, naphtha goes up. Oil comes down, naphtha comes down. Shale oil and gas, they have an impact even beyond the US. Polyethylene, just one of the examples of the commodity products in the industry. It's widely used. You can find it in adhesive, automotive, wire and cable, packaging, agriculture, pipes, etc. The main challenges that we are facing as an industry. So one is energy transition. It's clear as mud, it's happening. There's no way to avoid it. Shift in energy and feedstocks. Second is overcapacity. So first you have oil companies that are moving into petrochemicals. Then there's more capacity being added, especially in China. Climate change. So we are responsible for 4% of greenhouse gases. And plastic waste. This is becoming more of an issue in recent years. Market is evolving. Industry is geared more towards sustainability. There's transition towards carbon neutrality. Industry is becoming very diverse, and we have to adjust to different regions, sectors, and businesses, also in terms of regulations. So we need to create new materials and respect low carbon solutions, gain emissions, and to do this we need M&A and we need private equity. Chemical industry still has a very bad reputation in the society, so we need to look at that. And the main challenges are the choice of feedstocks, so naphtha or gas, for example. Then a lot of processes, they yield more than one product, which means when you are aiming to produce one product, you get a lot of other small byproducts that you have to take care of. And that affects your decisions on what to produce and how to produce it. So we need to rebuild the industry. What do we need to take into account? So 4 main areas: market dynamics, policies and regulations. They're becoming more and more important, especially in the EU. Technology evaluation and techno-economic assessments. So I mentioned greenhouse gas emissions. Yes, we need to take this into account, look at it at the steam cracker level and steam reformer. Plastic waste, it's rising on the agenda, it's becoming more and more important, and you can see pictures like this in the media every day. Regulation is evolving, so some polymers are becoming under pressure. You may remember that in August 22, the EU declared a ban on harmful packaging chemicals. And you may also remember that 10 years ago you could go to Tesco's or Waitrose in London and get free shopping bags. That's not happening anymore. You need to bring your own. You can buy a recyclable bag for £1. You can buy bag for life. So it's happening. It's affecting our decisions. The next set of slides is on the new trends that are emerging and that we see as shaping the industry in the future. So chemicals to be made using coal, which is achieved via syngas production. Another new technology that we are noticing is on the rise is methanol to olefins, MTO, or methanol to propylene, MTP. So you get ethylene and propylene from methanol, and that's a new trend, and we think it will be more and more important going forward. Nature also offers feedstocks for chemicals, so it's possible to make chemicals from coal. We can also make them from biomass. Like coal, biomass can also be gasified, so we can make syngas and its derivatives, ammonia, which my colleague here mentioned quite a lot, and methanol. And from then again move to MTO and MTP. So another new trend. A bit unusual, ethanol from sugar that can also be used to make ethylene and then polyethylene. Technologies already exist, and it's going to develop in the future. This is our favorite slide at Nexans. So you can also make MEG, MEG, monoethylene glycol, from ethanol via fermentation. And at some stage, Coca-Cola introduced what they called plant bottle that was up to 30% made from plants. But then again, the question is, when it's a polymer, it's exactly the same as if it were made from fossil fuels. So what is a plant? So they discontinued that type of bottle. Next one is polymers can degrade. This is how a polylactic acid is made. Bio-based and green, a lot of people are confusing it, but it's not the same thing. Not all green products are bio, and not all bio products are green. And there is no perfect polymer. Other new technologies and trends that we are noticing. Gas to liquids, particularly in the Middle East. We have advised on a couple of projects there. And also coal to liquids, which is similar, but it's from coal. To conclude, we are a global company, so we have 50 years of experience. We are present in 12 countries, head offices in London, and Uzbekistan business as Central Asia is handled from London, but we are also active in Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok. We have 4 offices in the US. We offer, apart from consulting, also subscriptions and reports and training. So you can contact us, check our website. If you have any questions on the presentation or on the chemicals industry, just feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sergey. And that's a great sort of window for us to think about how much potential we've got here in Uzbekistan, and a great overview of the market. I'd like to, I mean, just in terms of sort of pulling together this whole discussion, I'd like to first thank, Farouk and Akbar for their sort of putting to rest concerns about the state-owned enterprises from what you're saying and from what our colleagues who are our private sector investor colleagues are saying is that that both UKS and Novoye Azot have kind of migrated from more sort of looking at things self-interested to more of a partnership model with investors and trying to attract, and there are some successful examples, the most recent maybe being the Linde one. We heard from Matthias about Linde, about growth, the legal, all the positive aspects of the Uzbek market, and which have attracted Linde here, the legal environment, the clean energy sort of symbiosis with Linde, and the positive ambitions of the governments, but not without challenges. The cost structure, the market liberalization is still to be done. The currency situation is liberalized, but still is not entirely without its challenges. And the cost structure, as I mentioned earlier. We heard from Rahul talking about that good cooperation with UKS. And Novoye Azot, and I really liked how you put that Indorama aspires not only to be sort of the best in Uzbekistan, but really sort of benchmarking against European players, noting some of the strengths in Uzbekistan, the manpower, the mindset of the government, and the cooperative actions of UKS. And then we heard from Sergey about the market, and it was a bit of a tutorial. I think that, but for all of us, I think we might use that for IFC staff, Sergey, when we're learning about the chemicals industry. It was great. But what it reminds us of is what we've got, what you've got in Uzbekistan. You mentioned in terms of a good environment, in terms of raw material accessibility, labor force, government support. Challenge maybe in areas like logistics and some of the other things that we've heard of. But what you really gave us was a window of what the future may hold for Uzbekistan chemicals, and how vast the industry is. And indeed, it's in just about everything we do, everything we're wearing, and the microphones we're using. It's just not just the petrol in the cars that we're using. I'd like to run through a quick question, 30 seconds each, to each of the panelists, and then open what little, maybe the 5-10 minutes we have for any questions. But you have up to $1 billion to invest in Uzbekistan's chemical sector. I'm an investor coming. I don't know anything about chemicals. You tell me, where is it best to invest that $1 billion? First to you, Matthias.
So I take the 1 billion and run.
Well, that's not an option. It has to be in Uzbekistan.
No, seriously, I mean, we look at investment opportunities by the economic value they create, and I already mentioned a couple. I think the most straightforward is to take existing assets and improve their operations and reliability. But then again, chemicals is a huge opportunity. Mining I see as a huge opportunity, and everything related to clean energy. Carbon capture, but also ammonia, methanol, these are opportunities which all unfold here in the market.
Very good. Akbar?
Well, definitely, I would love to agree with him to run, but I cannot. But still, во-первых, если был бы 1 миллиард, то, конечно, бы в химическом секторе я бы сказал, что в полимеры. Потому что полимеры, как наш коллега Сергей Рябченко тоже отметил, что будущее все равно будет с полимерами. Но полимеры тоже сейчас, как вы знаете, на сегодняшний день идет идеология зеленого. Я бы подумал именно в это направлении. И потому что у нас есть все возможности, чтобы это воплотить в реальность.
Hello?
Thank you. So, as I have told that at Indorama, we have done enough investment to address the basic needs of the peoples, because Indorama is a company, it's more about the essential chemicals. We focus on the essential chemicals, basic needs. So we have taken care of the peoples. So now it is our time to take care of the planet. So if you ask with me where $1 billion investment should go, so at least 30% investment should go to take care of the planet. That is to reduce the carbon footprint to bring the better efficiency, and balanced investment, in my opinion, to convert these bulk fertilizer, which my friend told, because Uzbekistan have disadvantage of the logistic cost. So we have to use these basic raw material, intermediate raw material to create the high value product so that we can make Uzbekistan more competitive in the international market. So that's our focus area. Thank you.
Thank you. Sergey?
Continuing the joke, I think if we split the billion between all of us, Anran, it's still sufficient. But on a serious note, renewables is my bet. I think that we are very active in Uzbekistan and Central Asia on traditional projects, oil and gas, fertilizers, polymers, etc. There's still not sufficient interest in renewables, although it's happening. We've seen presentation by Aqua, for example. But this is the future. So if I compare it with the clients in Europe, their probably percentage of work that we do between traditional and renewables is growing towards renewables. So that is my recommendation.
Thank you. Farouk?
Ну, если есть $1 миллиард, я бы порекомендовал, чтобы эти деньги взяли и пришли к нам. Потому что у нас имеется портфель инвестиционных проектов на $5 миллиардов. Мы готовы сотрудничать и вот этот миллиард вложить туда, чтобы получить...
Но если один
определенный
субсектор, если один проект, какой?
Да. Если один проект, ну, безусловно, я бы сказал бы МТО. Для республики нужен МТО проект.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been great. I'm conscious of time, but I want to open up in case we may have a time for maybe one or two questions from the audience, in case anybody has any questions for our panelists. Okay. Well, this has been a very efficient discussion. I truly appreciate this has been a great discussion, honestly, and I think it gives us all a great deal of optimism, both in some real recent examples, not just talk, but also about the future. You know, we've heard so much about what's some of the aspirations and in the industry itself. So I'd like to just, if you could join me in a round of applause for our panelists. I think we'll wrap things up, but I really appreciate all of the inputs, and I know for IFC we're even more excited about the space. So thank you. Thanks.
Great motivation.
That was fun. I tried to. You got to keep these things going.